pretty much any leaf blower or weed whacker. It's a pretty simple process, so let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do to make it easier to see and work on is I want to actually remove the fuel tank from the machine because it's easier to take the fuel lines off and replace it when you can just hold the fuel tank in your hands rather than having to work on it on the machine, I find. So let's go do that. You need a Torx bit, and yeah. So today I'm doing this on my Poulan Pro leaf blower, and to remove the fuel tank you're going to need a Torx. Let me find it here. Just give me a second. Okay, so I actually changed my mind. I'm gonna take off this cover first and then the fuel tank. So to remove this cover you need a T25, and there's going to be 3 screws. So there's one here, and one at the bottom. And then to remove the fuel tank you need a T20 to remove the 2 screws that I'll show you guys in a second after I take this cover off. Oh, and you might want to use a drill to make it a bit easier to do, to get to the back screws, and it's a lot faster. So there we go. That's all the 3 screws removed from this cover. Wait, no, it's not. I forgot one over here. Alright, so now we can get our T20 in the drill and take out the fuel tank. Also, you're going to want to drain out the fuel from the fuel tank prior to removing it, so I just poured it in my lawnmower. And if you're wondering if you can run 2-stroke fuel in a 4-stroke engine, you can. It's just like better. It's just better for the engine because the oil kind of coats all the parts and like makes it last a bit longer. And don't worry about carboning up the muffler because it's just a small amount if you pour it out of a leaf blower. It's not like you're running a full tank of 2-stroke fuel in a lawnmower. So anyway, now I'm going to remove the 2 screws that hold on the fuel tank. So this one here and this one right there. And they're threading into metal, so just be careful when you remove them, not to strip the threads. You kind of want to go slow. And there we go. So we have the 2 screws removed from the fuel tank. Now we can pull our fuel lines off of the carburetor, and when we put it back on, I'll explain what fuel line goes where. So let me just set the camera up, and I'll show you guys how to pull the fuel lines off. Okay, so I zoomed you guys in, and to pull the fuel lines off, I like to use a pair of these small needle nose pliers. It helps a lot. So don't mind this green thing. This probably isn't going to be on yours. I put this on here as a shut off thing. But anyway, so just you're going to pull down, and don't grab onto the fitting on the carburetor because you might pull it out of the carburetor and then have to get a new one or something. So there's one, and that's on there. Okay. There's 2. Now we can go ahead and remove them from the fuel tank. Alright, so now I have the fuel tank off the leaf blower. The leaf blower is just sitting on the ground right there. And before we take the fuel lines out, we're going to wipe off all the dirt with a rag to make sure we don't get any of the dirt inside the gas tank and make a mess. Wait, there we go. Alright. So just go like this a little bit until you get most of the dirt off. It also looks nicer too. So that's good. And if you want, you can use a little bit of old fuel to help get the dirt off with a paintbrush. That works pretty good too. The cap and stuff. Alright, now we can go ahead and pull the fuel lines out of the fuel tank. So we're going to unscrew the lid. And then for the small one, I set the small one up as the return line. So it isn't, but it doesn't really matter what one you do. So we're going to pull it out first with our needle nose pliers and just set it aside. And then we're going to have to pull the other one out from inside the tank because, as you can see, there's a fuel filter down inside and we can't pull it through the top. So we're going to have to go like this and pull it out from this way. It might take a little bit, but it works good. So just go like that. And there we go. There is our fuel pickup and filter. So now we're going to get the new line out, and I'll show you guys how to measure it and get it to the correct length. Alright, so here's the new fuel line that I get. I just got it on Amazon for pretty cheap. Now it has both sizes, the small and the large. But if you want to get just the large, that's okay, because if you want, you can make both holes the same size. Which, let me see if I have the correct size drill bit to do that. 9, Actually, I might. So let me see if I can make both holes the same size, and I'll turn you guys back on. And it's also a 3/6. So if you want to make both holes the large line, which is just easier, it's a 3/16 diameter drill bit that you're going to need to do this. Alright, so I don't actually have the correct size drill bit, so I'm just going to have the small and the large line like it came from the factory. So let me just get the dirt off the top there. Alright, now we're ready to measure out our new line from the old pieces. So we're going to do the small one first, and to cut it, I like to use a pair of these little wire cutters. Just works good. So you're going to want to find the end of the new line, which is like right there. Then hold it up. And if you want to go a little bit longer than what it was before, that's good. So you can see there's the old one, there's the new one. I'm just going to go like right here. Taking myself some more wiggle room. Alright, now there's the return. And now for the pickup. When you make the pickup, you're going to want to make it nice and long because you want to make sure that it goes from the hole all the way to the bottom of the fuel tank. So just kind of imagine having it going to the imagine the top part going to the carburetor, and then imagine the fuel filter has to go all the way to the bottom. So if you want to hold it on the side of the tank like this, and then point this upwards so it like resembles going to the carburetor, that also works really good. So I'm going to make a new piece that's about this long, maybe even a little bit longer, and I'll show you guys the fuel filter in a minute, what ones I like to use. So there we go. Alright, our new pieces of fuel line are cut. Now they're ready to be installed. Alright, so we're going to do the return line first. So you're going to want to cut it at a nice angle so it's easy to get into the fuel tank. Scissors work great for this. Go like that. And then just push it in here. It might take a couple tries. There we go. Now we're going to pull it through the hole with our needle nose pliers, and don't worry about cutting off the little triangle thing on the return line because nothing's connecting into it. But for the pickup line that we're going to do in a second, we're going to have to cut off the nib and install our new fuel filter. But if your old one still looks fine, then you can go ahead and use that one. Okay, so here are some fuel filters that I have. I'm just going to use this one. Yeah, I've never really used this kind before, and I want to kind of try it out. But these ones work really good, so I suggest getting these. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, especially if you buy it with like the primer bulbs and the fuel line, like as a kit. It's really cheap, and it comes with a lot of stuff, so you can do a bunch of these repairs. Alright, so for our pickup line, we're going to have to get our scissors and make another nib on the end, or an angle on the end like our last one. I might take a couple tries again, so just go nice and slow. There we go. Almost. Alright, there's our nice little end that I made. Now we're going to put it in the bigger hole. Also, it doesn't matter. So if you want to make the small one the pickup, that's fine. It doesn't matter what one you do as which. So now we're going to slip this in there, and then we're going to watch it come out in the inside. We're going to pull it in, then we're going to pull it with our needle nose pliers, and then we're going to then actually with the pickup you're going to have to pull it out of the filler neck because you need to put the fuel filter on and then slide the rest of it in the fuel tank. So and it helps to pull down, not out towards you. If you pull towards you, that just kind of snaps off the fuel line and makes it weird. So there we go, there's our end of it. Now we're going to have to cut off the little angle piece and then get our fuel filter and put the fuel filter on the line. It might take a few tries because the fuel filter has kind of a big barb on the end of it, which is kind of strange. So just take your time. Try not to get frustrated when putting it on. Alright, so now I've got our fuel filter on the line, and I'm going to have to pull it out a little bit more just so that we can slide it back in the fuel tank down to the bottom. Maybe like right there. Now just turn this around like this and just put it in like that. And you're going to want to push it all the way to the bottom. It helps to use the pliers to grab onto it and just push it down like that. or a long screwdriver will also work great. So there we go. That's what it should look like in the bottom. Now we're going to reinstall this on the leaf blower, and then we're going to start it up. All right, now we're going to install the fuel tank back on the unit. So let me grab my little drill here and the correct bit, which is the T20. I like to install the fuel tank on the machine before I put the fuel lines on the carb, just to make it more stable. Sorry, I tapped the camera. All right, there's the first one. Don't go overkill because you might crack the plastic on a tank, and it's not cheap to get a new one. Unless you get a used one, but still, I wouldn't want to. And you may even want to tighten it up by hand with one of these little things here. So there we go. And there we go. Now, the pickup one, okay, let me zoom you guys in. So the pickup goes in the back because the return comes in front of the primer bulb here. So we need to put the thick one on the back port and the thin one on the front port, and then I'll show you guys the fuel being pumped through here and how it should look. So you can use the needle nose pliers that we use to pull the fuel lines in and out of the tank, and to take it off the carb, we can use the pliers to put it back on the carburetor. It's a little tight in here, but if you want to remove the air box, you can. I just didn't opt to. There we go. There's the pickup, and it's a little bit long hanging out there, so we're going to push it in. So if your line's kinked, like mine is right here, you can go in the fuel tank and just pull the slack out with your pliers. Like that. And now we can push on our return in the front. This one's always a little bit more tricky because it's a small line. It's not big like the first one. So I'll show you guys what it looks like when I get it on. Alrighty, so that's what it should look like when the fuel lines are all attached. Now I'm going to press the primer bulb, and you should see the fuel being pushed through here, then coming up here. So let's see if I did this correctly, which I did because it pushes out the correct line. Now, whoops, sorry. As you can see, there is a little bit of a kink there, so we're also going to have to make this one a little bit longer in the tank, which is just fine. So just go in there with your pliers again and pull until it goes like that. And yeah, there we go. And it's also a good time to check, to make sure that your cylinder head bolts are tight. So if you just get the correct size bolt, or the correct size Allen wrench, whatever, and just tighten them in the front hole and the back hole. And yours might even have 4, mine only has 2. But yeah, so now I'm going to reinstall the side panel, and we're going to take this thing outside and fire it up. Alright, so I just gassed it up. As you guys saw in a previous video, I only use still oil with 100% gasoline with no ethanol. And then we're going to prime it up here, put the choke on, and see if it starts. And yes, this machine has an auto choke, so if you bump the throttle, it comes off. Runs good. Alright, so with that, you guys, that's how to replace the fuel lines and filter on any weed whacker or leaf blower, or maybe even some chainsaws. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and stay tuned for more videos on leaf blowers coming soon, because I'm getting a new one this afternoon. Woohoo! And it's used, so we gotta fix it up. Anyway, thanks for watching, have a great day. Guys, I'm just editing the video now. And since I forgot to mention it, I'll leave a link in the description to a kit with fuel lines, fuel filters, and primer bulbs, and some 2-stroke oil that I use, that I like. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.